Member Tatum, just checking that you can still hear me.
I can.
Perfect.
Okay, this is the Building and Safety Enterprise Fund Advisory Committee agenda, and we're going to call this to order and do a roll call. Chair Potter, present.
Member Tatum,
Present.
Member Heltzley,
Present.
Member Cunningham,
Present.
Member Frias, excused, you have a quorum.
Okay, announcement regarding compliance with open meeting law.
We are in compliance.
Okay, then we'll go to the public comment. Comment during this portion of the agenda must be limited to matters on the agenda for action. If you wish to be heard, come forward and give your name for the record. The amount of discussion as well as the amount of time any single speaker is allowed may be limited. I look out into the crowd and I see no one prepared to come to the podium. So with that, we'll close item number 3 and move into item number 4 for possible action to approve the final minutes by reference of the regular meeting of April 30th, 2024. I ask the board to have any comments, and if no comments, then we'll move to proposal to approve.
I move to approve the minute meetings.
Thank
Meeting
you.
minutes.
All those in
I
favor?
second.
Chair Potter, aye.
Cunningham, aye.
Heltzley, aye.
Member Tatum, aye.
Okay, appears that that has been approved by unanimous. So we'll go to item 5, report by Michael Cunningham, Deputy Community Development Director and Building Official regarding the Enterprise Fund budget for fiscal year 2024.
All right, good morning, everybody. For the record, Michael Cunningham, building official for the city of Las Vegas. So for this first item, I will go over how our fiscal year 24 ended. The report's been provided as backup. I'll hit some of the highlights. So first, going over revenues. Our revenues, we ended at $16,527,824, which is just 10% under what we were projected for the year. So we did end up collecting a little bit more, or a little bit less revenue. We just didn't have as many projects come in, as many large projects come in as we thought we were. But if you look down at the expenses, we're still fine on our expenses and our revenue. So on the expenses, just a couple highlight ones. Item 510900, that's our other professional services. That's what we use for our plan review consultants. That we spent 19% less than what we were projected. So we have been successful on our plan review side. We've been fully staffed now for a couple years. And so we haven't had to rely on our consultants quite as much. So we try to keep in as much as we can while still maintaining our plan review time. And so that shows with the decrease in spending in that line item. The other one I wanted to point out is our internal charges code 560900. You can see in the months of May and June, there was two large withdrawals on those two accounts. Those were transfers to our internal service funds. So as you know, we're always trying to improve our computer system, make sure it's efficient for us as the jurisdiction as well as for the industry. And so we have some upcoming projects that we would like to do some enhancements on the system. So some of those funds goes to that. And we also have a scanning project. We need to finish scanning a lot of our boxed plans that are still on paper at our old warehouse. So some of this funds will be going to that as well. So if you look down at the bottom, our total expenses, we actually ended at $19,001,732, which is 10% up. And so between the two, we spent a little bit more than we took in on revenue, but our reserve balance is still healthy. We're still slightly under the 50% in our reserve balance at the end of the fiscal year 24. And with that, I can answer any questions that anyone may have.
This is Member Tatum. So Member Cunningham, thanks for the update. Question for you. You mentioned about the outside kind of plan check requirements. You're saying overall you're just finding that you guys are not having to do that?
We still do it, we just don't do it as much. So the workload is still, and for the record, Michael Cunningham, the workload is still too high for us to take everything at 100%, but we're not relying as heavily on the consultants. So we still use them, but not to the extent that we were in the past.
Okay. Any kind of anecdotal feedback, I guess, as to how you decide which ones get shipped out versus those that don't?
Yeah, so again, for the record, Michael Cunningham. So each day that we get plan reviews in, our plans exam supervisor takes a look at our current workload and our time frame. So our internal goal is still to be at 2 weeks. Once we start to get around that 2.5 to 3 week threshold, he'll start sending more stuff out to the consultants. And then he takes into account, obviously, vacations, holidays, different things like that. So the supervisor just looks at it daily, and then based on that workload, he'll open up a lever and he'll send stuff out to the consultants, or he'll close it and keep it in. And then there's sometimes some key projects, some larger projects that we'll try to split between us and the consultants. So if we keep a really large project in for the next 2 weeks, we might send more out to the consultants to give us time to look at that large project.
Okay. Thank you.
Chair Potter, Mr. Cunningham, when you split those, a project between in-house and out-of-house, and comments come in, or let's say it gets approved and there's a revision, when that comes in, does it go to whoever dealt with that original approval versus maybe going from out-house to in-house? Is my question clear?
Yeah. Yeah, for the record, Michael Cunningham. Yeah, so when I say split projects, I mean the projects independently. Once a project starts with a consultant or with our internal staff, we don't change that. Very rare cases. We recently did it with some of the track permits because we took that over, and that's something Fire talk about a little bit later. But with those, we did do kind of a mid-split. But the impact of getting a new plans examiner, or especially a whole new company looking at it, tends to create issues. So we do those in very, very rare cases. Most of the time, I'd say 98% of the time, whoever starts that project finishes it through revisions, deferred submittals, everything.
Very good, thank you. Any other questions for Michael on that specific report?
This is Member Heltzley. No questions for me. Thank you, Michael, for the report.
Member Tatum, no further questions for me. Thanks, Michael.
All right, thank you, Michael. We'll move to item 6, and we'll have a report by Michael Cunningham, Deputy Community Development Director and Building Official, regarding an update to the enterprise fund budget for fiscal year 2025.
All right, good morning again. For the record, Michael Cunningham, building official. So the report you have in front of you for fiscal year 25 gets us through the first quarter, so we got through September. We didn't have October numbers in time to get on the report, so we have through September. Looking at the numbers, I'll do the same thing. I'll hit some of the highlights. So if you look at our revenue, to date, we've collected $3,722,996. That puts us at 23% of what our budgeted revenues were. So if we continue at this pace, we'll collect slightly less revenue than what we were projected. We were projected to collect a little over 16 million. At our current pace, we're projected to collect just under 15 million. So a little bit less, but still manageable within our expenses. And if you go down to the expenses, everything is kind of tracking in line. So in revenue or in labor, we spent $2,257,857, which puts us at 21% of what our projected expenses were in labor. And then if you go down to our total expenses, including discretionary and our non-discretionary expenses, we're right at 25%. So we've spent $4,084,716, which puts us at 23% of our projected expenses. So it looks like we're tracking to make a little bit less, but we're tracking to spend a little bit less. So we should have a good steady year. Like I mentioned earlier, our reserve balance is healthy right now.
Chair Potter, anyone have any questions for Michael from the board?
This is Member Tatum. Member Cunningham, just a quick question for you. I'm looking at this now. Is there anything that jumps out at you? I know it's only been a few months in, but anything that jumps out at you right now that is a concern, I guess, in terms of projected spend versus what was budgeted?
For the record, Michael Cunningham. No, there's nothing that really sticks out at this point. You know, we are seeing a little bit of a slowdown on the residential side, and we always see a little bit of a slowdown just in permit activity in general on an election year around the election cycle with interest rates and everything. So I would say it's pretty standard. On the expenses side, we're tracking well on everything. The one thing I did want to mention that I forgot to mention when it comes to our budget, last year we did apply for a grant. It was a grant that FEMA was offering to go towards code adoption and education and training. We applied for that grant, and we actually just recently received word that we were awarded that grant. So we're now working with our grants team and FEMA to be able to spend that money. And so that'll help us out on our expenses side. So just so everyone knows what that looks like, the total grant amount that we requested was for $347,551.30. The grant covers 75% of that, and we have to match 25%. So our portion of that grant is $86,887.83. And then the grant funds that we would receive would be $260,663.48. And if you look at our expenses, so that will help us with education. So a big portion of that grant was our annual EduCode conference and trainings that we send all of our plans, exams, and permit techs and inspectors to, and as well as our books. So the next item where we're going to be discussing is the code adoption. When we go through that code adoption, we have to order all new books and everything. It does get rather expensive, and so this grant will help with a good chunk of those funds for the code adoption. Hopefully that answered your question, Member Tatum.
Yeah, if Member Tatum, for the record, it did, and some, so thank you for that additional information.
Chair Potter, any other questions from the members before we move on?
Member Heltzley. Michael, I do have one question. On your maintenance of software, you have $309,000 budgeted, and you've already spent $252,000. I'm assuming that's a one-time license, but you're projecting at $1 million. So you may want to look at your projection.
For the record, Michael Cunningham. Yeah, so we get hit, I think it's at the beginning of the year, we get hit with that one-time fee. And then the projection, or general costs, which line item was it again? Make sure I'm talking about the maintenance.
Let's see, maintenance of I'm trying to read this tiny little print. It is 540400, maintenance of software.
Oh, there it is. Oh, yeah. So we get the hit the one time, and then the Excel sheet just calculates assuming we're gonna spend that. So it does, the projection does get kind of wonky when we get a big hit in that 1 month. But we'll double check it and see if maybe there's either a way to adjust the projection to account for a one-time increase or a one-time charge versus thinking it's gonna be monthly.
You can type over it.
Yeah.
Thank you. Nothing more from Member Heltzley.
Okay, if none of the members have any more questions on item 6, we'll move to item number 7, report by Michael Cunningham, Deputy Community Development Director and Building Official regarding the 2024 code adoption schedule and process.
All right, good morning. Got a couple more items for you guys, but for the record, Michael Cunningham, Building Official for the City of Las Vegas. So code adoption, just want to keep everyone up to speed on this one. So we are continuing to work through that process. Snowbo has read, and that's the Southern Nevada Building Officials. We have received the IRC, the energy code, plumbing mechanical codes, the fire life safety building provisions. We are currently waiting on the electrical code, the swimming pool code, and I believe that's all of them. So we've reviewed a majority of them. We have actually approved the plumbing and mechanical. The other codes that we have reviewed had some minor comments, and they were sent back to our steering committee to address those and resubmit to us. Snowbo met last week, and we are going to start the public hearing process here shortly. We're going to break up the codes to make it more manageable, and that way people that have specific interests in specific codes can show up to the meeting instead of having to show up to all the codes at one time. So we're going to start off with the plumbing and mechanical. That'll be one kind of public hearing group where we'll meet with the industry and our stakeholders to kind of get feedback on our amendment package. Then we'll do the electrical code and the swimming pool code as one group. And then we'll do the energy code as their own. We'll do IRC as their own, and then we'll do the building code as their own. So those meetings should all be starting, so if anyone is interested, just keep a lookout for those. We'll make sure everyone has that information. The hopes is still to have it before our council here at the beginning of the year with an adoption shortly thereafter with an effective date 6 months after that. So we're still looking at probably mid to end of summer next year before the 2024 codes would be in effect.
Chair Potter asking the member board, do they have any questions on this report?
Member Tatum, for the record, no questions on my end, but as we always talk about pretty much every time we meet, I just want to commend you guys on the open transparency and the communication for the public to know what's going on with these types of code adoptions. It's probably-handedly responsible for some of the biggest potential challenges for particularly out-of-state developers and out-of-state design firms to not know which code basis they're on, or particularly when new project starts, which one they will have to submit under. So I commend you for continuing to keep it at the forefront and also for providing a vehicle for the public to be able to have the ability to see the nature of these changes. So I just wanted to say thank you. I don't have any questions. We've talked about this in previous sessions quite a bit. So thank you, Member Cunningham, for the update.
You're welcome.
This is Member Heltzley. No comments from me on your report.
This is Chair Potter, and I have one comment that I say every time this subject comes up, and let's just hope that all the jurisdictions can get on the same page on every code, so each jurisdiction doesn't have a separate set of amendments to that. So I know that you don't necessarily control that, but clearly that's the industry's preference. Okay, with that, we'll move on from number 6 to item number 8. I'm sorry, 7 to 8. Go ahead, Michael. Report on report by Michael Cunningham, Deputy Community Development Director and Building Official regarding projects with significant impact to Building and Safety Division resources.
All right, good morning one more time. Michael Cunningham for the record. I keep saying I gotta switch this up so I don't have to do all of them in a row, but here we are. So this is the report that I've done the last few times, and you guys have requested to keep it on here. So these are just gonna go over some of the big projects that are coming up in the city, some that are currently in review, some that are in inspections, and then some that we see coming down the line to just kind of show what we're looking at as a department. So starting off, so first, just kind of the city as a whole outside of the downtown core that we tend to focus on. So we have Duncan and Edwards Apartments. It's a 7 multifamily, 2-story apartment building, 80 units total, and a clubhouse totaling 88,257 square feet. As you'll see with a lot of these, as everyone knows, housing right now is kind of an issue in the valley, and so we're seeing a lot of multifamily, a lot of apartment complex, higher density, which is what we need. The next one's 311 West Utah. That is 376 units. It's a mixed-use building, and it's going to total 344,277 square feet. And then up north, kind of the Decatur and Rome area, we went over an affordable housing project last time. There's a new project going in just adjacent to that called Betty's Village North in their northwest campus. It's 22 residential buildings consisting of 90 residential units, a park, clubhouse, and a retail building. That's a project that's being done by the Opportunity Village Group, and this is going to be their northwest campus for a lot of their folks. And then the next one is Summerlin West Village 29, Park Drift Trail improvements. It's the Village 32 Loop Road to Spring Run Drive. So Summerlin is continuing to head up the mountain and go west. So this is one of their infrastructure projects that they get in. Then once they get these in, then the developer parcels will start to come behind it. So their infrastructure projects are kind of a telltale sign for us to know that more residential is going to be coming. And then kind of like I did last time, I'll just go over some of the large projects. So projects that are over $100,000 in valuation. Currently, we have 148 projects in review that fall within that category, totaling $35,998,013 in total construction valuation. And then large projects over $500,000 in valuation. It's a pretty big number right now. We have 135 permits in review with the valuation of $1,046,468,733. So as you can tell by that number, we have a lot of projects kind of coming in the pipeline and a lot of big stuff going on in the valley. So going on to the next one, we'll hit a couple of the other projects just around town. So this one is in the medical district. It's an expansion project for a current cancer center within the medical district. It's 43,000 square feet total. It's 3 floors. It's on the corner of Tonopah and Hamilton. The first floor is anticipated to be a surgical center for women's cancer. The second floor is specializing in women's cancer as well. And then the third floor is a medical office space for lease. Currently, the owners are planning on leasing to 1 hand surgeon, 1 OBGYN, and then they have about 10,000 square feet that they're still looking for a tenant. The shell on this one was actually issued last year, and the shell is almost complete. And we are starting now to get those TIs to actually build out the cancer center floors on the inside. The next one, kind of sticking to the medical district, is a revamp for the UMC campus. This one's a $58 million project, and it's external upgrades to the facade, including the neon lighting, landscaping, and et cetera. It's under construction now. They're looking to complete it, early next year. So this one is one of the big projects. There's a lot of money going into the medical district right now, and UMC is kind of staying up to date with that. The next one is a Cedar Street project. This one is just past the intersection of Alta and Tonopah. This project is called the Presley. It's in review right now. They're hoping to break ground in mid-2025, and it will offer 203 apartments. This next one is a mixed-use concept building, so this is one of the ones that's not in review yet, but we see coming down the pipeline to us. It's a project called Dwellness. It's on the northeast corner of Shadow and Wellness Way, again, within the medical district. This one, it's a design mixed-use podium retail apartment building, 5 residential levels consisting of approximately 150 to 200 units, have ground floor retail up to 20,000 square feet of medical district focused tenants, and then also have a 3-level parking garage and some amenities for the building, and then a public space like a quad-style botanical garden in the center for the residents and the tenants. And then I kept Area 15 District 2 on here. We've talked about this one, I think, at all these presentations, but this one is a very large project for us right now. There's so much going on with it. If you've driven by it, you see the main tenant, the Universal Studios building going up. They're working on that TI now. The other buildings are starting to go up, and we're starting to get all the TIs for those. So there's a John Wick experience that's in. We have the airplane that we talked about last time is in plan review. We just met last week in the photo. You can kind of see the shuttle that's kind of at the forefront there beyond the Area 15 sign. That's going to be a new amusement ride called iFly. It's an indoor skydiving attraction. The majority of their patrons, they said, are folks that are actually training to learn how to skydive professionally, but it is just open to the general public if you'd like to go in there. So that one they should be submitting here in the next couple of weeks. They've built some all over the country, looking to be the first one to come to Vegas, so that's exciting to see. I think that was all the updates on that one. So this next one is another addition to our Symphony Park. So this one just recently got approved. So this is Las Vegas Museum of Art. This is going to be a large art museum that's coming to the Symphony Park area, something that they've been working on for a long time. There's a rendering there in the picture. It's a 90,000 square foot modern art museum, and it's supported by and worked in conjunction with the Los Angeles County Museum of Art. So they're helping them get together to work on that. All right, and the next one, so continuing in Symphony Park, Symphony Park's almost fully built out. Now there's only a few undeveloped parcels left. This one here is kind of looking northeast. You can actually see the Museum of Art rendering in the background. But this is on the parcel just across the street from LaRove to the east. It's parcel J. It's a company called Panther Acquisitions. This building is going to be a 4-story, 100,000 square foot medical office building. And then they have 3.5 acres that will be left, or that will be developed to include the parking garage to accommodate this, and then also any of the other tenants in the area. So with that, Symphony Park will almost be fully built out. There's one private developer parcel that's still left, and I think the city may have one additional parcel. This one's a big project that's going to be coming probably over several phases. It's in the Arts District. It's called Z Life Midtown. These are the same developers that built the other hotel downtown on Main Street. It's 214 hotel rooms, 7,916 square feet of food and beverage, 7,954 square feet of commercial, and then 15,300 square feet of office. And this is the first phase of it, so these are the two buildings that they're starting off with. I believe it's 8 buildings total, and they're trying to create this district, and it's called Z Life Midtown. It's going to be a mixed-use area, a lot of residential housing, and then it'll be coming in over the next several years. The next one I want to talk about is the historic West Side. So Cherry Development has built 2 of these products in downtown already. This one he partnered with the city of Las Vegas to try to get some affordable housing in the West Side, the historic West Side area. This project's actually ready to be permit. It's in permit ready status. They were supposed to be working with the city and closing on the property this month. And then once that happens and they get financing in, then this one will start coming out of the ground over the next year. So this one will be a big hit for us next year during the construction phase, and excited to see it come to the historic West Side. So then going on to kind of what's on the horizon for a big thing. So this one we typically talk about our development agreements. So this one's, a lot of them are the same ones, so just updates on them. So Desert Pines, this is the one that's on the southeast corner of Bonanza Mojave, where the Desert Pine Golf Course is. This one it's still working with the city and the developer. There's some BLM grants and things that are being worked out. Once those are done, this one will continue to move forward. But just as a recap, it's 100 acres. Proposed unit count would be just over 1,500 units. It's going to be mixed use. There'll be senior housing, multi-generational housing, affordable workforce, and then a little bit of single-family attached and detached. It's also like a work, live, and play kind of place. So there's some public or park amenities in there, as well as some commercial space. And then the other ones that I want to talk about, Upper Las Vegas Wash. This one again is continuing to go through the system. The development agreements take a lot of work from the city and the developers. So this one's still going through, but it's 940 gross acres. Proposed unit count would be just at 6,000 units. It's residential housing, just ranging in all varied types. And it also has a commercial component, an office campus, private military housing, and then some spots for some schools, trails, and open space. The picture there on the left is actually of the BLM 505, also called Sky Summit. When we met last time, this one had just started getting kicked off. It actually was just recently approved at City Council. This one is 505 gross acres, maximum unit count of 3,500 units. Now that they've received their development agreement approval, we will probably start seeing the technical studies and the infrastructure here over the next year. Then shortly after that, the developers will start to come in with their projects. Heavy residential, there is a park component, I believe, and then Water District has a reservoir and pump station that they would have to build as well as part of this project. And I believe that is all I have, unless anyone has any questions.
Chair to members, I'm still just trying to catch my breath. Every time I see this presentation, it's mind-boggling, really is.
Member Tatum, for the record, I just want to say I think that you providing this update, Member Cunningham, is always greatly appreciated. I think it helps give some context to what is coming, and as it relates to kind of the nature of why we're here today, it does give very valuable information, I think, between the correlation between future projects and what your resources are needed in order to make them successful. So I say please keep it up, and thank you.
You're welcome.
Member Holtzley, for the record, I would also like to second the Member Tatum. Thank you so much for this presentation. It's always really exciting to see what's going on in the city of Las Vegas and to see how we're moving forward. So keep up the good work.
Okay, so Chair Potter, that is the end of item 8, and we'll move to item number 9, report by Sherry Shoup, Assistant Fire Chief and Fire Marshal, regarding updates on Las Vegas fire and rescue issues that can affect the administration and finances of the Building and Safety Enterprise Fund, such as updates on fire sprinkler inspections, plan review, and/or fees. Sherry.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
I'm Sherry Shoup, Assistant Chief and Fire Marshal for the city. The items that I'll touch on are the ones that are in Fire Prevention Division that directly affect the Building and Safety Enterprise Fund, and that would be the inspections on the single-family residence tract homes and on our plan review processes. And I will let David Cross cover that part on the plan review, but I will provide you with a little bit of information on where we are in the inspections. I ran a comparison of the last 6 months between this year and last year. We're down about 1.2% from last year, running at 3,214 fire sprinkler inspections in the homes. We're holding steady at just under 100% on-time inspections at 99.8%. And probably one of the most significant number changes from last year is that last year at the same time, we were running about 30.63% reinspection rate. This year we are at 18.11% reinspection rate, and I attribute that decrease to a couple of things. The main one is they were primarily from canceled inspections. So we had a lot of inspections being called in optimistically, hoping that things were done and ready to go. And between our communication with the general contractors and their communication with the sprinkler subcontractors, we were able to get that more in line with what's ready to go without running a lot of unnecessary paperwork and inspections. So that's nearly half, cut in half. So I'm really happy about that, not wasting folks' time anymore. That's really all we have on the inspection side. I will let Section Manager David Cross cover the plan review side.
Thank you, Sherry. David Cross, Section Manager, Fire Protection Engineering, for the record. I'm going to report on our plan review status. So for the last 6 months, we've completed roughly 4,760 plan reviews with a 82% on time or meeting our goal of 14-day turnaround. Compared to last year, we're hitting right at about the same number. Last year, 6 months, we had 4,767 plan reviews. However, we were only hitting about 77% of the goal, so we've seen a 5% increase of achieving our goal. With that, back in September, as I reported on last meeting, that we have taken over the residential track reviews, bringing them back in-house from a third party. And so with that, we've been able to maintain our work effort and keeping on top of the residential track reviews. And with that, I'm able to answer any questions.
Chair Potter, Mr. Cross, your 14-day turnaround, is that calendar days or is that business days?
David Cross, for the record, that is calendar days.
Thank you. Board members, any comments?
Member Tatum, no comment on my side. Thank you.
Member Cunningham, I just wanted to, I mentioned it last time, I wanted to mention again too, because they've even taken over the track inspections now, or track plan review. David, since he's gotten that position, he's done a great job. He's gotten that team fully staffed up and doing the plan reviews in a timely fashion. As he mentioned, they were quite a bit behind. They're fully caught up now, and they were even able to take on the track plan reviews and stay caught up on those. So just wanted to commend you for the work you've done with that group and able to keep permits moving.
Thank you.
Ms. Hesley?
No comments from Member Helsley. Thanks for the report.
Well, with that, I think that finishes the fundamental issues of our agenda. We'll go on to item 11, citizens participate. I said what? I said 10? Okay. Citizens participation number 11. Public comment during this portion of the agenda must be limited to matters within the jurisdiction of the committee. No subject may be acted upon by the committee unless that subject is on the agenda and is scheduled for action. If you wish to be heard, come forward and give your name for the record. The amount of discussion on any single subject, as well as the amount of time any single speaker is allowed, may be limited. And I look out there and I see an empty boardroom, so given that, I think we'll close that. Did I skip 10? Yeah. Oh, wow, that's what you're, okay, all right, well, okay, excuse me for being lax. Item 10, discussion regarding topics for future agenda. Comments made during the portion of the agenda by individual members shall refer solely to proposals for future agenda items, and any discussion shall be limited to whether or not such proposed items are within the purview of the committee and/or whether such proposed items shall be placed on a future agenda. No discussion regarding the substance of any such proposed topic shall occur, and no action shall be taken. Do we have any discussion?
Member Cunningham, just so I'm clear on what the agenda topics everyone would like to see. So I would plan on reporting where we're at with our fiscal year 25 budget at that point. We'll be meeting most likely at the first quarter of next year. So I can also give an update on what our proposed budget for the next fiscal year would be. And obviously any staffing or anything that we're proposing through that budget process. The significant impact seems to be a hot topic, so I would anticipate keeping that on there. Code adoption, we might actually be through that, so depending, if we're not through the code adoption, I'll keep that on there to give an update. If we're through it, then I want to anticipate talking about that. But those would be the topics I would anticipate discussing.
Okay, Chair Potter, members Tatum and Hesley, do you all have any items that you would like to put on this? Tatum?
Yeah, Member Tatum, for the record, no additional items, but I would ask that we at least anticipate that we would cover the code adoption topic, because I do think it's beneficial to continue to talk about that until it goes through.
Chair Potter, we all agree with that. So if I don't make any other mistakes, can we close that item? Oh, wait, no, we have a comment.
Member Helsley, I don't have a comment on proposed items for the agenda, but I do have an announcement. This is my last meeting. We have a new finance director, and she is in the back of the room. So Gail Lloyd-Likos was recently ratified as our new finance director, so she'll be taking my place on the committee. I promoted to CFO about 6 months ago, and we had her in acting, and until she became official, she couldn't become a member of the committee yet. So
Wow.
Gail will be joining us next time.
Well, we're sorry to see you go, but we wish you luck in your new capacity, and we welcome our new member, Rinko, Miss Rinko, is it?
Gail Lloyd-Likos.
Linko, with an L.
Yep, Lloyd-Likos.
Okay.
Yep.
Welcome. We'll see you next time. Okay. Any other comments? If not, then, do I need to do 11 again? No. Oh, wait. Based upon that, then, I guess, no other comments. We're going to adjourn this meeting. Thank you all for coming. Bye.
Thank you all.